Bigger than capes.
Give me some outside.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Dry.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. I'm Zach, and this week I'm joined by Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Zach.
How's you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I was worried that I was going to be all sloppy from having, being anaesthetized in the mouth, but fortunately that's not the case. I'm just all sloppy from just being sleepy.
I mean, would we notice the difference?
I'd like to hope you would.
And it's that hope that keeps us both going, Matt.
So how you been, Zach?
I've been pretty okay, really. Yeah, solid 3 stars, I guess. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I've been okay. We should probably say that this week we're here to discuss No One Left to Fight by Aubrey, Sitterson, with art by Fico, Ossio, and lettering by Taylor Esposito. But before we get to that, what's been your week, really? What have you been up to? Anything interesting?
I guess I've done some things. I finished watching Dorohedoro.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It is. It ended at a point that I wasn't happy with. So it ended, and I'm like, that's not even like a cliffhanger. It's just there just stops being more of it, which I guess is the way sometimes. But yeah, it's really good for 13 episodes.
It's incredible to think that they actually managed to adapt Dorohedoro, because it's so artistic.
No need to show off with your accent.
Shush, Zach, don't let them know I'm learning Japanese. It
doesn't matter how many languages I learn, they're always going to come out with an Oldham accent.
Yeah. Watashi wa. But no, it's amazing to think that they managed to adapt something with such a unique visual style and make it still feel really true to the original vision.
Yeah, it's pretty out there as a concept.
Oh, it's very strange and very violent.
Yeah, it's crazy violent, and
it's almost cartoonishly.
Very much so, which I guess fits. But it's also, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of mangas and animes that have got quite a ludicrous premise, but this feels like all the ludicrous happening all at once. Yeah. Which I'm there for, obviously.
The design aesthetic is so sort of heavy metal album cover.
Yeah.
It could, some of it could be a Gorgoroth or Megadeth or something.
I can kind of see that. I don't know if I'm happy I can see that, or if it's... but it's real good.
We should... we could discuss the manga or or do some episode discussions of it at some point, and I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that could be fun, and I'd like to think other people will find it fun as well, and not just me and you. But don't want to jinx it. I've also finally, and it's been sat on my shelf for about forever, decided to start reading Nowhere Men. Yes,
you did mention this to me.
Yeah, it's good, I guess, but it's surreal, I guess.
Is Nowhere Men the one that was pitched as being about the science Beatles?
Yes, it is. So it's 4 scientists who have nothing in common except that they do science, coming together to change the world. But it's framed with the kind of, but they immediately fell apart. There's one guy who's crazy into drugs and being weird, and obviously he leaves, and then they all have creative differences, and it all falls apart, and their kind of effects of what they've done is felt throughout science, which is it's Beatles, isn't it, but with science. And reading it in trade, it's like impossible to know what's an issue because it's all broken up by adverts for products that they've made and newspaper articles, chapters from books written about these four guys. There's a lot to deal with, and I feel like it's the kind of thing you would love because there's so much to unpack.
Very heavy world building.
Yeah. There's a 2-page spread that is like the Science Chronicle Awards for the top 10 various things. So, male thinker of the year, female thinker of the year,
I'm like fanning myself.
But obviously, every single name is made up. So it's like a bunch of awards with top 10 lists of people that don't exist, which is.
Yeah, and talking about why they're being nominated, and
it's super weird. But I'm like, I've nearly finished the first trade, and I was kind of like, yeah, I can see me reading more of this. And then apparently the second trade, it looks like it never came out. It looks like there were 5 out of 6 issues released, and no physical trade or anything. So
no, because I remember when the adverts initially came out, the promotional stuff for Nowhere Men.
Yeah.
And then I remember it, just disappearing, and I just assumed it was limited.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that it could probably have only ran for 12 issues, but it's strange that I think it drops out at issue 11, and then it wasn't collected.
Yeah, that's particularly odd.
Especially when the first trade had variant cover. They did a Beatles variant cover where you could get a copy of the first volume that was entirely white with just a embossed Nowhere Men in the top corner, and it's I'm here for that level of Beatles reference, but I feel like if you were that confident with your first trade for there to never be a second or not a finished second is kind of weird.
Do they ever do anything in what you've read so far to do with the Paul is dead conspiracy theory?
See, there are weird. So their equivalent of Paul is a guy called Simon, who they keep hinting at him being constantly looking young and disappearing from the public eye to live in a mansion where no one knows the location of, which does have very much you're trying to say that he's dead and no one can find him. But then they also do that with a guy who I feel like is the Ringo of the group, who's the guy who's the weird guy who did a lot of drugs, and then he disappeared 2 years into the project, and I think
reappeared voicing a train.
I mean, let's not rule it out. It's a pretty weird book.
And and then there's the George Harrison, who's the best one of all of them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was going to ask the question, who's your favourite Beatle? But I think you've just answered it for everything.
I joke, it might be George Harrison. Because he seems like he was probably the nicest one as well.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because when you choose your favourite Beatle, you have to really ask yourself what the criteria is for being your favourite Beatle.
He also just seemed like he was always, he was having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there are definitely times where it seems like John was not having any fun.
And, John was kind of an arsehole, so...
Some cracking songs in him, though, weren't there?
Very great songs.
I also, incidentally, I found the best way to enjoy Nowhere Men is to blast the Beatles whilst reading it, just to really hammer home the feel.
Yeah. Now, what about the Scroll Beatles?
I'd forgotten about Scroll Beatles.
Yeah, they're very good.
The Beatles reference that always comes to me that no one cares about is, do you remember that episode of the Powerpuff Girls?
Oh, yeah, the Beat-Alls.
Yeah, and they do that documentary thing. It's and Fuzzy brought the rock.
Yeah, and is it all of the spoken dialogue is Beatles lyrics in the episode, that's not from the narrator? Because you have the police chief who does lines from Help and stuff
I honestly can't remember if it's all the dialogue, but there's definitely a good helping of it.
Um,
I'm going to need to rewatch that now.
It's a very good episode.
I really love the Powerpuff Girls.
It's so good. Like,
it's the cornerstone of my childhood.
It's Craig McCracken has like such a solid animation catalog. Between that, like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Wander Over Yonder, all like really solid stuff. For kind of apart like Wander Over Yonder, I was like in my early 20s, I think, when it was coming out, like mid 20s. But the other stuff was like during my sort of like Powerpuff Girls was like when I was like 10 or like 11.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But like Foster's Home, I was like 13 or 14, and it was like I was like, oh yeah, no, this is great.
Yeah.
Cartoons are fun. Remember?
Oh man, I love me some cartoons.
Yeah.
So how about you? You been doing anything?
Just like, honestly, I've been battling a horrible addiction to Apex Legends. Again, like it happens to me like every few months. I'll remember that even though I'm terrible at first-person shooters, I will occasionally like one a lot. And Apex Legends is like, every few months I just go like, I should probably play that again. I really liked it. And they've just had a new season launch, new characters and a new weapon and stuff. And I'm like, maybe this is the time I'm good at a first-person shooter that isn't like one of the Time Splitters series. Apart from that, I've been I finally watched the Duelists. It's like a 1977 Ridley Scott film that has some really excellent film sword fighting. To as someone with an interest in sword fighting and weaponry, kind of like that, it was a really interesting watch. Like, it's not, whilst like almost all of the duels in the film are relatively short, there's a lot if you're watching it for the combat as well, and actually like for the kind of choreography of it all. There's a lot to absorb. I liked it, and I now remember how much I liked the bit of when I got to do Saber, fight Saber for a little while, and it made me really want to go back to doing that, even though the film is literally about a person being haunted by having to duel this man again and again and again over years. So it's like, at the same time, I was like, it's pretty fun. I feel like I maybe missed the message.
Maybe a little bit, but that's part of the fun, right?
Exactly. If you're not allowed to misinterpret a film,
what are you allowed to do anymore?
Exactly. I'd say I have a decent reading of the film, but also, yay, weapon fighting.
That might be one of the most Matt things.
So that was kind of my week. I'm trying to think if I read any comics apart from One Piece, which I'm still going through, and I've been reading a bit more of Chainsaw Man. which is excellent.
I don't think I know Chainsaw Man. Please tell me more.
So it's very sorry, the pose you just struck as you told me to tell you what is a tad distracting. But yeah, no, it's a Shonen Jump manga about a man who like can turn his body into chainsaws, and has to kind of fight and kill like demons to make ends meet. It's horribly violent and sad, and an excellent read. The problem is, like, I genuinely actually don't want to say much about it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Because it's the rare book that I actually think is better. It is like genuinely better enjoyed going in fairly blind, apart from the knowledge that like it's very, very violent, and
That's
being
fair.
kind of prepared for that. Yeah, so I would say definitely give it a look. Like I finally got back on the Shonen Jump app recently, because it's only like £1.99 a month.
That's not bad.
For a lot of content. So I definitely say, yeah, give it a look.
Yeah, I will do, definitely.
And it has a very cute chainsaw dog devil called Pachita. So Zach, why don't you tell us about our sponsor for the show?
So our sponsor is Travelling Man. They're based in Manchester, Leeds, Newcastle, and York, and they sell comics and manga and board games, RPGs, CCGs, all kinds of Gs. Don't know what that means.
If there's a G, they've got it.
But they've hooked us up with comics often. Most recently, they have been selling things online through travellingman.com. But as of not long ago, I think Manchester and Newcastle are both now open for click and collect. So,
oh, that's good.
The extent of them doing click and collect, I'm not sure of. I know it was definitely involving single issues, so you could collect your pull, or well, that's about it with single issues, I guess. But
yeah,
I'd like to think it extends beyond that. I know there's stuff that's in stock in Travelling Man shops that isn't necessarily listed on the website, so it would be nice if there was a little bit more flexibility with the click and collect, but I don't have all the details. So just do some Googling. If you're in one of those 4 cities and you like stuff, do your own research.
Yeah, we are your two dads.
We don't, you don't need us to do all the work for you. You're a strong, independent comic book reader.
So, talking of strong people and comic books, let's talk about No One Left to Fight, a book where someone has been so strong that there's
no one left to fight, man. I don't know what to tell you. But to make a comment on our other sponsor, Manchester Comic Book Club is where we read No One Left to Fight. And am I sponsoring myself now? Is that what?
I think so.
Killer, why not? Let's do it. So if you want to join in with Manchester Comic Book Club, because obviously we're meeting online at the moment, the world is ending. I don't know if you've noticed. We are meeting the first Tuesday of every month on Skype. You can track us down to learn more about that through Facebook. We have
Facebook.
Twitter, we are at Mank Comic Book for some reason. And yeah, hit us up. We'd love to have more people from wherever you are. You don't need to be in Manchester like we are. And yeah, so that's my pitch for Manchester Comic Book Club. You got anything you want to throw in?
No, I'd just say that we're a pretty welcoming group. We read all sorts, and we're always glad to have new people along. So
yeah,
come along if you
definitely.
can. So yeah, as I was saying, no one left to fight.
Yes.
Do you want to? Shall we try and give an explanation of what this book is?
Yes. Do you want to go or am I going? Who's going to go?
Let's collaborate. So
I'm listening.
Yeah, Aubrey Sitterson's back with a brand new invention. So yeah, as I was saying before, it's written by Aubrey Sitterson and with art by Fico, Ossio, and lettering by Taylor Esposito. They describe it as on the cover in quite bombastic terms as the comic book you always wanted,
which I really love. I
love the guts.
Yeah, the sheer confidence
to call your shot like that, to just get your baseball bat and point to the other side of the stadium, and just go yep, let's go in there. And it's the core premise, like I say, is that the main it's an ensemble cast, but the main character, Vale, an indeterminate, probably roughly about 10 years have passed since he defeated kind of the final enemy of his sort of martial arts journey, Gore Despo, who I kept accidentally reading as God Despot, which I think
equally works.
Yeah. And yeah, he defeated Gore Despo, and ever since has kind of had a lack of purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
He's worshipped by kind of the people of the world who view him as their savior, and now he's in a situation where he's having to deal with the reality of there being nothing left to distract him from being an adult, and kind of all the emotional problems that are kind of built through a life of never really having to do anything other than train and then fight.
Yeah.
And so he contacts his old fighting and traveling friends and rivals, Timur and Krista, who have since married and had children, to go with him on a journey to where he defeated Gore Despo, for indeterminate reasons.
Yeah, it's not really told why.
No, so let's be clear, this book ended with 5 issues.
Yeah, and it very much feels like there could comfortably be more.
Well, there was meant to be.
Yeah.
And hopefully there will be in the future.
Yeah, I would like to think so.
But yeah, it's so as well as that, it's also worth saying that it's very heavily kind of inspired by battle manga and battle anime, particularly Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
It wears that kind of on its sleeve. Timur may as well be kind of like Ninja Vegeta.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like Krista is like Robot Arm Bulma, except she actually gets involved in the fights and stuff and is actually kind of.
She has a giant sword, man.
She has a giant sword, we find out, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
But like, it's I like some battle manga. Like, I've been a very, very long time fan of JoJo's since kind of I accidentally discovered it on the Dreamcast.
Okay.
With like the Stardust Crusaders fighting, like Capcom Stardust Crusaders fighting game back in like 2002, 2003, I think that would have been. Maybe a little, like, it would have been around then. And then like the original Stardust Crusaders, like OVA, that was early 2000s and stuff, and like Hunter x Hunter is something that it's something that I kind of really love. So like I have a fondness for like interesting explorations of battle manga, and like Dragon Ball, original Dragon Ball is I think like a masterpiece. And so like I love a book that is I love the idea of writing the book that takes place after those books have ended.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like this is an opportunity for Aubrey Sitterson to kind of say everything that he feels isn't said in battle mangas, almost.
Yeah, like this. Well, in most, I mean, like I'd say Hunter x Hunter comes close to saying some of it, given that like it has one of the most some of the most emotionally destroying scenes ever. And there's a part, like there's a fight in there in one like that is about that entirely comes down to mankind's ability towards limitless cruelty and evolution, and we like when threatened with near extinction. Even in a fight that we can't win, we won't lose because we will do something so ungodly evil. So like some battle mangas sort of explore that, but this is a different sort of thing. Like I say, it's like, it's that sort of thing of like characters who are kind of during the process of battle manga often kind of infantile in some ways, because like like Goku is a grown-ass child.
Yes,
he is a child
very much so.
His body, and like is the kind of reckless fun side of that, whereas like Vegeta is the toddler lashing out, and like the kind of negative sort of like the kind of much more negative, aggressive side of that. And like so the whole thing of like when what happens to these people when they do grow up, and like I say, when those personalities and stuff can't carry you through life anymore because you need to do more than punch people.
Yeah, and it's a valid question, and I think it's an interesting kind of exploration into what lies beyond being the hero all the time.
Yes, like what does being the hero do to you?
Yeah, and as we see here, that obviously Timur and Krista have found each other, and they've got a family life, and they've got kids, and they've got a pet squid, I think,
called Pod.
Called Pod. Kids are called Tay and Tor. You can assemble your own joke from that.
I love Pod.
Pod's great. Pod is great, and they've walked away from being the big heroes and come away with kind of everything they could, I guess. Whereas Vale is the opposite of that and has walked away with just these old victories, I guess.
Yeah, like, and it was a thing that I talked about kind of at length in Comic Book Club, but like, one of the things I appreciate about the whole situation is that you get, like, it is the way that Vale and Timur interact, in the sense that you get the feeling that Timur has actually grown up a lot.
Yeah, and
whilst he's got some rightful bitterness about some things, like, it sounds like he had a very terrible and abusive childhood.
Yeah, definitely comes across that way.
You feel like for that he's actually quite well adjusted, but then when Vale comes back into their lives, he becomes Vegeta again.
Yeah, like instantly becomes Vegeta.
Because he's faced with this kind of moment where he wasn't he didn't win. Kind of the sense of like that moment where his strength isn't seen as having been enough. And that sort of rivalry reunites within him. It's exactly like I say, like that person who you knew in college or who you knew in high school, who, no matter how much you've grown up and kind of matured since then, when you see them, you just slip back into old habits and old slang and old jokes and stuff like, and it's very much that he becomes like incredibly defensive and paranoid and just uncertain of himself, and even in his relationship with his wife. Like, Krista is definitely the most well balanced.
Yeah, she just seems like she's completely aware of the situation. She's got herself together. She's much more well-rounded than everybody else. I mean, okay, fair play. There are characters we see less of, like Fargon, the crab man.
Fargon.
He seems perfectly well adjusted.
Yeah,
actually.
He does. He has a boombox. He has like some gold-looking chains. He seems pretty fun. Like, wears shades on not his iPod, his eye stalks.
Yeah, it's such an image, isn't it? He's just got everything going on.
Yeah, but again, like, you feel like, because like Fargan is like almost is kind of the Piccolo.
Yeah, definitely.
In that, like, he's definitely like an old enemy. You get the feel of, and also is the one who he is also kind of the one who looks after the children.
Yeah. I think whilst we see these characters, and some of them are a bit of a mess and some of them are well-rounded, it feels like Vale is aware that his life hasn't gone as it could have, and he keeps getting these flashes of, I don't know, how things could have been, I guess. Which
like a lot in this volume, it's deliberately a little unclear as to whether he's just seeing like whether he's just seeing alternate futures, whether he's just having like dreams.
Yeah,
he's having some sort of medical issue. Like, he is ill. He is dying, or something of the sort. Like and this seems to be connected to it because it's always denoted in a way that shows that he's in pain when it happens and loses connection.
Yeah, definitely.
With the real world.
And I think it's in things like that element of mystery where he's clearly flashing onto some other possibilities.
Yes.
That do suggest that, this is very much a first volume and there's hints of what was to come.
And apart from one of these visions, which is kind of like the first one where he kind of sees himself with Krista.
Yeah.
Apart from that one, they're all things he could have if he just let himself be happy.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way, which
is so incredibly sad.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking in a utterly surreal way at times.
Yes, he sees himself with, with a childhood friend who, is in love with him. He sees himself, as an old man sat in the forest, fishing in this pond, surrounded by woodland friends.
As you do.
As you do. And in all of these visions, he's genuinely has this contented look. He's happy, and it's a look whilst you see him smile and stuff in the book, it's never as kind of genuine as in some of these visions, apart from one moment, I would say, actually, during the only real fight of the book, when he hugs Timur.
Yeah, so in that final showdown where we kind of see the revived Bruton.
Yes, they're an old enemy of who we know they fought years ago.
Who I'm sure his face mask definitely has a Jim Carrey reference in there.
Well, it's the mask. It has the bar.
Yeah.
At the top, it's Dark Horse Comics ass, The Mask.
It's not just a mask.
It is the singular.
Oh man, who have we become? It's so in that fight we kind of see a lot of obvious Dragon Ball Z fan service type appearances. In the combat, we see things like the fusion attempt with the hugs and the
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, the Super Saiyan and the Kamiya wave equivalent with the Bambalam, which Bambalam works.
It's a really good one, though. I always find myself going, "Whoa, Black Betty."
Yeah, of course, which I'm all for.
Yeah,
just am.
It's a great substitute. I was genuinely it made me smile when I first came across it.
Yeah, it's a fun take on it, and I like the idea. I like the idea that Aubrey Sitterson had to sit somewhere and come up with what his version of the Genki Ball was going to be, or the Kamiya, or I feel like the unbelievable pressure to try and come up with a name as good is something that he's risen to quite well in this.
Yeah, it's they're all pretty good. I won't lie. I think most of Vegeta's attack names are pretty dumb, apart from Final Flash. So literally having some, like the fact that one of them is just called in this Team Wars is just called Blast Barrage. I was like, that's about on par.
Yeah,
with most Vegeta attack names.
Oh, is it Piccolo who's got special beam cannon?
Piccolo has the best attack names. He has special beam cannon, the Hell Zone grenade, light grenade.
I feel like we miss out on seeing what Aubrey Sitterson would have had to do with Piccolo as like move set.
I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, because in Japanese it's the Mankan Kosapo is the name, and it's literally translates literally as demons penetrating a killing light gun. Now,
yeah,
fuck the Kamehameha. I want the demons penetrating killing light gun. It's a beam and it drills.
It's that glorious thing that we do see sometimes, obviously, where like Japanese wrestling moves and manga attack names sometimes come so close to each other. And I feel like demons penetrating
killing light gun
is equally believable as like
yeah, like you could see like Okada
if
or
you
like
told,
Bone Soldier.
Yeah, if you were told that was the new finish, you'd be like, yeah, of course, all right.
Oh yeah, like
it's like the beauty of New Japan. Well, any Japanese wrestling, but New Japan's the easy example where we get told like, what's the finish? It's called the Bloody Cross. Why?
Yeah.
Just is.
YouTuber Toru Yano busted out the Makan Kosapo.
But there's this beautiful crossover where it doesn't. You don't blink an eye with the names because it just makes good sense. Speaking of wrestling, I know both of us came to Aubrey Sitterson as a creator through
the comic book History of Pro Wrestling.
That's the one. I was going to see if you knew the full name with all the subtitles, but let's not go there. It's long.
I'm glad I said it before you got a chance to ask me.
Which obviously appealed to both of us as a history of wrestling via comics, which is us in a nutshell, I think, is...
Yes.
And whilst that's this is an awkward one. Non-fiction? Is that...
It's non-fiction.
I feel like fiction versus non-fiction with professional wrestling is always
is a difficult thing to kind of quantify.
Yeah, but off the back of that, I was very eager to see what else he could do, and
yes,
I think No One Left to Fight ticks a lot of the boxes of what I wanted to see from Aubrey Sitterson.
Yeah, it's something, like I say, like I like homage comics when it's done for something that the writer really does care about. And Aubrey Sitterson clearly loves Dragon Ball in particular, but because it is very heavily dependent upon not a direct knowledge of it, but
definitely an awareness,
familiarity with some of the tropes and stuff. It's written by someone who knows what the shorthand for those sorts of things is, so doesn't feel the need to kind of bog down by establishing too much.
I agree
with that, but I can't imagine what it's like for someone with no familiarity.
Yeah, this is something I was going to bring up. So when in the book club meeting, we had our newest member, Alex, bring up that he hadn't read or seen any Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, so
or really any battle manga.
Yeah, so I guess for a lot of us, it was kind of, we all saw Dragon Ball when we were younger, but yeah, it is hard to imagine the contrast of without that kind of little bit of knowledge.
Just like what should you assume is like general knowledge, like for it, like what can you kind of reasonably expect a person to be able to just assume? I think it does despite it not going into it too much, it still does a good job with its dialogue and sort of body language and stuff and character design work of telling you a lot about the characters. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the character design is incredibly busy in a way I adore, but it does, you can kind of look at it and tell, like, even if you were never told, you'd look at, like, Vale, and you go, oh, he's the main character. And, like, you'd look at Timur and go, like, oh, yep, he's got, like, all of these, like, edgy kind of looking accessories and stuff.
It's got to be said, it's the half, like, metal armor on one arm, the cape on the other arm.
Yeah, he's got, like, a half cape. He's got, like, the Kamen Rider scarf.
Yeah, and then
sashes.
There's just, God, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah, like, and, like, you know, Krista has all of the has, like, that same sort of like busyness and all these extra little affectations and stuff where you like you say, like, you go, oh yep, these are the three sort of like roles in this sort of triad.
Yeah, definitely. It says a lot, and as was also mentioned at the meeting, that there's definitely a kind of JRPG feel to it. I could very much see the No One Left to Fight video game being. Yeah,
like, it's one of these things where I'm just like, I was racking my brain trying to think of like what series of games they would fit most easily in, and part of me was like, well, they could, like, some of them could quite comfortably fit in like an Arc System Works fighting game, like a Guilty Gear in particular. Like, I could see Timur kind of being an alternate skin for like Chip Zenith, who was my main for many years. But like, yeah, there's so much kind of going on that I'd kind of love to see the characters animated, just to see the nightmare that is making all of these extra individual parts of their costume.
Because there's so many moving parts. It's absurd. And Fico Ossio's artwork is really nice throughout, and I think his colouring, and he doesn't colour it all by himself. There is also some colouring by Racula Vila, which I'm not going to lie, I think that both colourists complement each other so well. It's hard to see the line.
Like, I remember that at book club, someone, it might have been Alex actually, said that like the colouring was, because he was saying he was a very big fan of like synthwave, and like the colouring in particular in this was just like really excited him because it had all those same sort of tones and stuff as you'd get in like a good synthwave video, like all these pinks and purples and like various sort of shades of blues and like near blacks. Like, it's very cool. Like, and there's like no fear of clashing colours.
Yeah, it's, and there's some. it's very in your face coloring. I think there's no two ways about it, and it is almost too much at times, but it is gorgeously done. And there are some of the night sparring scene with Vale and Timur has got these nice purples and blues, which I'm all about.
Yeah, like really cool, heavy, sort of, like you say, dark nighttime sort of colours.
Which are then reflected again. We see that in the final battle with Bruton, which is nice. It sets the tone for these big fights. That so many of the fight scenes in this, all the fight scenes, maybe, all happen at night.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which kind of makes sense, because then you have the darkness, you have the shadows, and it allows you to do the big explosions in whatever bright neon colours you want, and it's a nice contrast. Whilst there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of quite a lot of fighting for a book when there's no one left to fight,
there's not that much. It's only, like, apart from the Bruton fight, I think it's only a couple pages.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the focus, and I guess that's the message. But there's also one of my favourite scenes, and that I think really illustrates the genuine emotion that is available. There is a spar at the end of the first issue between Vale and Timur, and afterwards, so the following day when they're leaving, the two kids, Tay and Tor, come up to their dad, Timur, thank you for, we know you saved the city, thank you, and we know you would have beaten Uncle Vale in the fight.
Yeah, they're just
and his face
they can
is just...
see their dad needs to hear it.
And it kind of immediately made me think, oh God, is this all Vegeta ever needed? Just
like his kids to love and respect him.
Which it's really nice, and it feels really...
Like I say, you get the feeling that without Vale there, he is a good dad.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least he tries to be a good dad. You get that sort of feeling of it, like that, his kids clearly really love him.
Yeah, I think that's true. And as I've said on previous podcasts, I'm always there for those little emotional moments. It's just, I think the tiniest bit of quality emotion can really set the balance for something that's going to have a lot of action.
Yeah.
And I think without it, books don't always hit right. I think you need to show that there's more to these characters. And I've got a lot of respect for the fact that Aubrey Sitterson and Fico Ossio managed to hit that in kind of a almost low-key sense quite early on.
Yeah.
And we see other things. We see... It's easy to show as the tortured hero in Vale, but it's nice to see
that the person who was originally the tortured anti-hero kind of rival is now actually now actually has a happy home life and has
we also see, and it's another thing that I really love, there's a scene pretty late on where we check back in with Fargan babysitting Tay and Tor, thank you, and they're trying to agree on a song to play for the dance-off, and I can't remember what the line is, but they can't agree on what the song is that they're going to play. We agreed it's by Billy Katz, who is
who's like some sort of space cat rock star.
Yeah, and he introduces the single issues. If you read, he only makes one appearance at the back of the trade, but he introduces every issue in singles. And there it is. So I found what I needed. And when they can't agree on the song, Fargan says, being fair isn't about getting what you want. It's about making sure everyone gets what they need. And god damn, that's a good line.
I like Fargan. Sorry, Comrade Fargan. Because he understands equity.
I got nothing for that, Matt. Well done.
I like Fargan a lot. Like he's barely kind of in the book, but he's always so sweet and kind.
Yeah,
his initial appearance is just giving Vale a big hug.
And we get that kind of initial flash of him being shrouded in darkness and kind of threatening, and I think the then following that with the hug is really well done.
It's very nice. And yeah, like, so, the book the rest of the book sort of takes us through a few sort of places of emotional significance kind of on the journey that Vale, Timur and Krista took earlier on in their lives through, like, we go to like Mistress Hager's, which is kind of like Kame House, like Master Roshi situation, where except like they were raised there as orphans, and kind of the different experiences that Vale and Timur in particular kind of had of the situation, like, and Timur's kind of the abuse kind of Timur suffered there, and kind of that as the origin of their differences as adults. Kind of the the sense of Vale having everything kind of handed to him, and Timur being rejected kind of no matter how hard he worked, and like no matter how much he pushed himself, kind of it's and whilst in the long like I was saying, like, whilst in the long run Timur has the better situation, it's still something that you very much feel he strived for, like didn't just happen for him. And like obviously Vale worked hard and tried and really did push himself, but like Timur just feels like you kind of understand, like it's a more interesting like Vegeta in that regard, in the sense of like the like whereas in Dragon Ball, like Vegeta's rivalry comes from basically always being told that he is superior, and that this kind of racially driven pride and like hierarchy driven pride. Here it's the opposite. It's the rivalry comes from having talent but never being not just having talent, but clearly having like a very strong drive and work ethic towards improving that talent, but never being recognized for it, and never being given the kind of support that you actually need to grow. Like, and it makes his relationship with Vale make so much sense.
Definitely, I completely agree, and it's interesting because I think the cast of characters, it's hard to find fault with any of them. I think Vale, Timur, Krista, the kids, Tato, Pod as a additional squid octopus friend is brilliant. Villain wise, the Hierophant is legitimately creepy. And
I like the Hierophant's design. It's very busy. There's lots of medallions.
It's like, as I said in the meeting, in the comic book club meeting, it feels like he's somewhere between the Undertaker and the Punisher.
I didn't think the Punisher, but
he's also definitely like anthropomorphic bat.
yeah.
So I think that's that combination. It's purely because he's got a massive skull on his chest. That's at least I think he does. I'm pretty sure he's got a massive skull on his chest.
Yeah.
Kind of skull like.
I will admit I don't see a skull, but I'm glad that we have different. Oh wait, no, I see it. There's the eyes.
Yeah, it's clearer in some pages than others. It depends on the angle they're showing him at. But Hierophant, pretty sweet design. Bruton, even though we get a brief glimpse, and Gordespo, both look crazy cool and definitely have. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's definitely some wrestling vibes throughout some of the designs, and there's definitely some American comics.
Yeah,
flashes.
it has that great kind of. I mentioned it in the meeting. Sorry to go back to the meeting again, everyone. But
what we do.
There's this sense of like the kind of late 90s comics inspired by manga and anime, like people trying to kind of hop on that kind of style, like not exactly like an Adam Warren or anything, but people who were working directly with their own sort of IPs and stuff, but that were inspired by things, kind of design aesthetic to it, but more directly kind of like Western comic. It's like it's a like the art is a really cool synthesis.
Yeah, and there's something
with a lot of design aesthetic of manga and of like battle manga and stuff, but rendered in like a Western comics sort of style. Like American comics like style.
Yeah, and I think it creates a really unique kind of visual that kind of feels like both, but also like neither. Which, I mean, that level of unique is, I guess, what we should always want in comics, right? For things to feel truly different in what they're going for. Yeah,
I don't necessarily think it's the perfect version of this comic. But
are you saying it's not even its final form?
Fucking hell.
I'm gonna go. I'll see you next time.
Yourself out. Right, so we're sponsored today by so I don't think it's necessarily like the perfect version of this comic, and it's definitely not helped by the fact that it doesn't really give you any answers to anything that it sets up. And you do get to see like the conclusions of some sort of character relationships, like between Vale and Winder, his like childhood friend.
Yeah.
Like you get to see kind of that, like the kind of unrequited romantic feelings there kind of be explored and kind of closed. To see really anything else resolved.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I really liked this book. I read it in singles 2 years ago now, I guess it would have been.
Yeah, about that.
And I knew it was something I wanted us to discuss as a comic book club. I thought a lot of people would like it and there was a lot to go at. It is very frustrating that there isn't more of it. I think it's a series that would have only improved and only picked up more people.
Yes, like, I definitely like it, but I can't really... It's one of these books where, yeah, like, I'm not really sure how strongly I could recommend it without there being more. I'd say, what I would say to someone is, if you wanted to look at, like, an interesting book and know that you may never actually get any answers to anything it asks, but you can enjoy sort of a few issues of this sort of Dragon Ball esque, like I say, like grown up Dragon Ball, where like if Dragon Ball had ended after the Frieza saga or like the Cell saga situation, like, and then add on about, you know, like 15 years. Yeah, like, then give it a look, but just go in kind of and expect to be a little disappointed that you don't, that there isn't a conclusion.
I agree, and it's a shame, and I whilst Dark Horse release a lot of books that I do legitimately love, they do have a tendency to, I guess, give up on books that are great. I can think that there's the Paybacks, there's the Ghost Fleet, which were all books that have been really good and have all been cancelled or not followed up on, and I do feel like it is a real shame because I would have gladly gone for more.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that about covers No One Left to Fight, unless you've got anything more to say.
I feel like I can keep talking, but I won't say anything new.
Yeah. So shall we once again give a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Yeah, of course. So, as we've said, our traveling man are our sponsors. What the fuck?
Comics, board games, card games, games of sorts, merchandise for said games and comics. They've got them. Where are they, Zach?
Leeds, York, Manchester, and Newcastle.
Yep. We're in Manchester. That store's great. Obviously, we can't go in at the moment, but the website's always there. At travelingman.
On stuff. And you can hit them up for click and collects now, so that's nice.
Yeah. And yeah, give them a look. They're great.
If we haven't got all the copies, they might even have No One Left to Fight.
They might have some left of No One Left to Fight.
But yeah, I think that might bring us to our conclusion. And I really love this book. That's my final.
I like it. I like it a lot. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying I love it, but I think I would have come to love it.
Yeah, and I hope that we do see a Kickstarter continuation, or
yes, that would be
something in the future.
Hope. That would be the hope. Something that it allows it to be put out, kind of at audience demand.
Yeah,
like Kickstarter or like Patreon or something of the sort.
Yeah, I don't need this to run forever. I would just like something more conclusive as an ending.
Yeah, something that actually finishes exploring its ideas. And yeah. So Zach, what's coming up next on the pod?
On the pod, hey, it is my understanding that it will be myself and Angela, and we'll be discussing Resident Alien.
Ooh.
Also Dark Horse. And yeah, it even ties in with what's going on in like comic book television and stuff. It's like we're self-aware for once. We're not self-aware, just aware.
No, we haven't become aware yet.
No, we've not yet become sentient, but but yeah, that's next week. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a couple of special episodes coming up as well soon.
Yep. So, we're finally putting out, due to popular demand, 20th Century Lads.
No, that's a surprise to me, but hey, maybe.
Sunday.
No, it'll be Matt and Angela's
Baywatch Nights.
Nights.
Retrospective.
But thank you for listening. I've been Zach. You've been Matt. We will continue to be. And I like to think that it's you. Every time you're on, this seems ridiculous. And it was your suggestion. We've been bigger than capes.
Yeah.
And remember that comics are bigger than capes.
No pod left to cast.